Hey everyone, this is Caroline. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, thank you for joining today. I'm going to be walking through my process of drawing Kiki from KiKi's delivery service and talking a little bit about it. So Kiki is hands down my favorite witch. I had the VHS tape of the movie when I was a kid, and it was apparently my favorite movie, as I remember myself too. And as soon as the tape would finish playing, it would pop out. I'd pop it back in, rewind it, and rewatch it. I kind of feel bad for my parents. They had to sit through that. During Halloween, I would always want to be a witch, and I wanted to have more of like a broom like she did, not the traditional witch broom, but like the one she borrowed that from the guy in the town that's more square shaped. I think this movie is so cool, not only because it's coming of age, which is one of my favorite movie genres, but also, like, I think what's really cool in the movie is when she starts to lose her magic. Like, she can't hear Gigi anymore, her cat, she can't fly, like, she's kind of lost it. And, you know, she really struggles with being able to find herself again, and you know, I think what's really cool about this, well, one, it's such a kind of, I think, mature concept for when you're little, but I think it's also something that everyone deals with. There's, you know, different points in your life, multiple times where you don't really maybe know what you want to do, or maybe like you're just kind of in a slump and you feel like you've yourself lost that magic. And I think it's, especially as an artist, I can really relate to it. I think artists go through art blocks all the time, and it's either like you, I don't know, you feel burnout, or maybe like you don't know what to draw, or you feel like whatever you draw isn't good enough, so then you maybe just like stop altogether. And she kind of gets in that like depressive state where she's kind of just like laying in her bed and Gigi's like, get out of bed, kind of. He's like, what are you doing? And or maybe she can't hear him at that point, I can't remember. Maybe she's talking to him still. And then, oh, don't even get me started about, I'm forgetting her name now, but she's like an older character who's an artist in the woods. Like, she lives in the cabin and she draws the birds. She's so cool, and she talks about, you know, with Kiki too, how magic and art are really similar. Maybe my love for art also came from this movie, because I love like anything magic, and like them talking about kind of how like creating and things like that, and you know, inspiration and magic and art are kind of the same thing. So I don't know, it's just something about that was just so cool to me. And of course the music is always beautiful in the Ghibli movies. I think it's Joe Higashi, thinking off the top of my head. I think he's the one who composes all the music for the movies. And I love when she's flying into town where the movie takes place and they're playing that song, and it's just along the water and there's seagulls by her. It's just so pretty, and I'm a sucker for like a water-bound like beach city, because that's kind of what I've always grown up around. So in terms of like places to live, that's like my preference, as being by the water. And I love seagulls. My brother and I are kind of the same. Like, whenever we hear like the seagull like kind of like crying out, it feels like home to me, and it's like a sense of security to hear that seagull. So like that scene was like so beautiful in the town. I also like the scene at night where she's like flying in trying to pick a town, and there's that really snooty witch. Her style was super cool, and I just think it was really funny when she was kind of like, I don't know, acting like she was like holier than thou, and she like flies off and Gigi's like, okay, well, and the cat was snooty too, and Gigi was so offended. I loved this movie so much. It was actually what I put on my grad cap, was a quote from Gigi where he's like, first, don't panic, second, don't panic, and third, don't panic. I think it kind of encapsulated how I felt about going on to the next stage of my life after graduating from school. Just like, don't panic, like, you're gonna keep going. But yeah. So, right now, in terms of the drawing, I'm trying to get all my line art done. You saw I was going through sketching. Trying to figure out what I want to do. At first I thought putting Gigi on the head of the broom would look really cool, but I decided to put him on the bag like when they were first flying into town. I think it looked off balance when I put him in the front, like in terms of like filling the spaces in the picture. It didn't look quite right to me. I'm using Procreate to do this piece, I should mention. And for my line art, I'm using the sketching tool, and I think I'm using, God, I feel like it's HB, I'm gonna guess. It's kind of that gritty crayon, like on paper feel. For some reason, I like always go towards that a little bit more, even though it's a little bit rough looking. To me, it feels more like I'm drawing on paper when I look at it, and my lines are like nice and like not like super thick, but like thicker feeling. And right now I'm going through and I'm just filling in the flat colors. I'm not like pulling these from actual photo, I'm just looking at one and trying to get as close as I can, so they're probably not exactly right, to be honest. But I'm okay with that. I have no qualms with not getting a color exactly right, unless it's like a commission or something I'm really like trying to get in there with. Sometimes I feel like happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say, happen from when you're not like eye dropping the exact colors, you're just trying to color match yourself. Sometimes you can get really like nice colors from doing that, and they're like something different, you know. So I'm also adding in my kind of light source shading. So I decided she's going to be flying through the sky, and the light source is going to come from the top left corner. So I'm having the light hit her on the high points of her hair and her bow and her skin and dress, and then the shadow casting behind those like back areas and the back leg, making that darker. And that also helps create dimension in the photo, having that back look like it's in the back, not only just because it's behind the front leg, but because of that muted color, because that brighter color is going to come to the forefront first. I'm also playing around with Gigi's mouth. Originally I was going to do like a, well, not quite exactly, but there's always been those like redraws that have been popular recently with Studio Ghibli. I was like looking at the one photo. Of course, how she's positioned on the broom and the broom she has was already different from the photo I was looking at. But I decided to go further past that by changing the placement of the seagull a little bit, adding music, so I thought it was fun looking. I was also contemplating animating like her bobbing up and down with the music changing, but I backed out of doing that because I got really into coloring this later on, as you'll see. I also made Gigi look excited, like he's like screaming at her about like the birds. One of my favorite Gigi qualities. I think it's kind of similar to like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Like there's just something about like a sassy black cat like friend who's there to like scream about things I think is just so cute and charming. So I'm adding in the other seagull and the back color that I've put in. Originally, like, I was trying to place it for water because I wanted to look like she was going over water, but later down I changed my mind. Originally my concern with this too was like the color I was using for the tips of the seagull's wings and the back color were kind of very similar, like this purpley blue color. But with the different lighting I do later on, it turns out okay. So this is like me trying to originally going with what I was looking at, which like was adding in the town below. So this was like me trying to add in all like the shrubbery, and I was using a different like tool to make it look like the light reflecting on the water underneath her, which I think was achieved pretty well. But then I decided I didn't want to do that because I was gonna have to draw a lot of houses, and I decided I didn't like the angle of it either, so I decided I was gonna make it her in the clouds flying with the birds. And I'm adding in like heavier light sourcing. I really want that warm tone of the sunlight to warm up this photo, and also to help with that background color that I was talking about with the wingtips of the seagulls and the actual sky. For the clouds, I actually used the cloud tool pen set up in Procreate, so it's really nice. It worked perfectly. I'm adding in over the light more. So for this, I just faded out the main light source, and then I go over top with like yellows and blues, and I use the tool, like I changed the pen to add, actually, ADD, and I lower the opacity on it, and that kind of helps create the different colors that come in rays. You see I'm putting in that purple too, it gives it kind of that more dimension. I think to me it looks a little bit more realistic. I'll also add in, like when you use the camera, you'll see those like hexagonal light and like ring come into the camera, so I'm adding in that to like further push that like light coming down. I also used the like a motion blur tool for the seagull in the forefront because I wanted it to look like in the camera it was focused on the background, not the foreground, so in the foreground the seagull would be not focused in the photo. Which I've been playing out these motion blur tools a little bit more, and I'm really excited to start using them and figuring out how to best work with it. So, photo's almost done, but this is basically my Kiki flying through the sky, and I'm adding in more warm tones, but I really am happy with how this piece turned out. And it was just really fun to do, to play around with more tools and figure things out, and just drawing a character you love is always just really enjoyable because there's just so many, I don't know, like good memories when you're working on the piece, and like putting the details of something you love is really fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment below your favorite Ghibli movie, or if you have any questions about any aspect of how I did this piece, please just leave your questions below and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you guys so much for joining me and watching my video. I hope you join for the next one. Alright, bye! Check out more of my art at my Instagram handle KidMoth, or check out my daily life at Curlin808, and I currently have a Webtoons up called Des Apprentice, and my creator name is KidMoth. Bye guys!